Hi, welcome to Yoga Below the Belt, where every posture is cued, keeping your pelvic floor in mind. I'm Tracy, and today's class will focus entirely on stretching all those yummy muscles of the pelvic floor. Most of this class, except for the grounding at the start, will be laying flat on your back, and I suggest grabbing 2 blocks and a yoga strap, and clear whatever space you can to have room for your yoga mat so that we can get started. Now, if you need to grab your gear, go for it now, pause the video, and then we'll get started. All right, let's focus on the body, bringing all our intention internal. I invite you to sit nice and tall, find a comfortable seat. Palms resting upward on your legs today. Shoulders up, back, and stretching down as you close your eyes and deepen your breath. Maybe you had a crazy morning or a crazy afternoon. It's possible the space that's surrounding you is really noisy, and that's okay. Recognize your life, recognize what's going on, and try and set everything in the back of your mind for the next 30 minutes as you focus internally, relaxing and breathing. Feel your body make contact with the ground or your chair if you're sitting on one, and the slight heat that starts to build. Notice the chest rising on the inhale with the ribs expanding. And super important for pelvic floor, when you inhale, make sure your belly expands so the air is reaching all the way down to the pelvic floor. And we'll stay here grounding just for 3 more breaths. One more long, deep inhale. And a long exhale. And when you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes. Smile if you're okay with that as we move into our practice for today. I'm so glad you're here. All right. I want you to make sure that you have your blocks nearby. A blanket if you need one to put under your head. Remember, if you've taken my other classes, if you lay on your back and your rib cage pops up, putting a little bit of support under the neck can help bring the ribs back down. Grab your strap and we'll get started. I invite you to lay flat on the floor. Get nice and comfy. We're going to be here for a little while. Make sure that your sacrum and your hips are flat, so your sacrum is nice and flat on the floor. Feet are grounded into your mat. And I invite you to lift that right leg so that you can place your strap around the foot. And in this posture, I'll walk you through it and then we'll come into the pose together. I want you to rest your shoulders down onto the mat. Keep your sacrum flat on the floor. And this angle here at your hip should be at 90 degrees. If that means your knee is bent, that's great. If you have the flexibility available and can straighten your leg, probably more than I can, that's fine too. But the key here is the pelvic floor is going to be supported and working like it should if the hips are in line. So you're neutral, having that sacrum on the floor, and you have this 90 degrees at the hip. Everybody can come in together. We will put the strap on the foot and inhale. And exhale, extending the leg as much as you need to feel a nice stretch in the hamstring as well as the hip joint. And again, the important point here is to work on that hip socket. So you'll feel as if the knee is pulling down toward the floor into the hip. And we'll be here for 6 nice deep breaths. One more inhale. On the exhale, keep the sacrum flat on the floor as you slowly bend the knee and bring it slightly towards your right armpit. Don't let the knee splay out. It should be nice and straight. Sacrum still on the floor. We don't want your booty rocking up. And we'll be here for 6 more breaths. You have to be patient if you're stretching the pelvic floor as your focus today. Lots of breathing. I invite you to take one more deep inhale with me. On the exhale, release the strap, but hold it onto your chest as you extend both legs out. Nice deep breaths, feeling the yummy stretch in that right hip joint. And we'll stay here for 2 more breaths. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll bring both feet back to the floor, hip distance apart, as you raise that left foot up to place the strap around the center of the foot. And you don't have to use a strap. If you are more flexible than I am, you always have the option of using your hands. In my lifetime, that's never worked, but everybody's different. You might be okay with it. All right, you know where we're going with this. Remember, sacrum's flat on the floor, and this joint, the hip, is at 90 degrees. And if that means the knee is generously bent, go for it, no problem. The idea here is to work on that hip socket while keeping the pelvis in neutral. And we'll be here for 6 breaths, shoulders flat on the floor. Really breathe into it. One more inhale. On the exhale, again, keep the sacrum flat on the floor as you slowly bend the knee closer to the armpit. And if that means you're only moving half an inch, but you feel a slight change in the stretch, perfect. That's what you want. Nice, deep belly breaths. Gaze is up at the ceiling. Let's take one more inhale together, deep breath. On the exhale, release the strap from the leg. Extend both legs out, keeping the strap nearby. And we'll lay here in Shavasana just for a couple of breaths. Give the body time to adjust with the nice stretched hips. And make sure every inhale is pushing air all the way down toward the pelvic floor. Two more breaths here. One last inhale. And exhale all the air out of the body. Okay, next up we're going to work on some twists with the legs. So I invite you to grab a yoga block and set it on the left side of the body. Now these postures can be a challenge for a lot of people. If you are afraid it's going to hurt you, don't do it. But I will walk you through what I can to show you what works for me, and we'll go from there. So the first option for you will be to leave the left leg extended, the blocks on the left, and you can just twist to stack the hips, keeping the shoulders flat on the floor. And you can see here, I'm not very flexible today, so I'm going to adjust my block and bring it closer so I have some support. Your next option is to grab your strap, put the strap over that right foot and keep it straight or bent, and help yourself give it a little support, holding that leg in place. And again, for me, I need a higher block today, and we can rest. If you can keep the leg straight and cross over, you're also welcome to rest your foot on the block to help deepen the stretch. So ideally, your shoulders should be flat on the floor, the hips should be stacked, and this right leg that's coming across should be supported. Pick what option here is going to work best for you. For me today, I really want to dig a little deeper into that outer hip, so I'm going to try and keep my leg mostly straight and come all the way across. So I invite you to join me by inhaling and exhaling, rotating just the lower body, using the strap to help you. And we'll hold this for 6 breaths. And if at any time it's too much, you can always come out. I don't believe in no pain, no gain. One more inhale. On the exhale, use your strap to help you as you raise the right leg back up. And we'll release the strap and stretch both legs out for a quick Shavasana. One more inhale. And on the exhale, I invite you to bring your legs back up so that you can bring the strap and wrap it around the left leg. And let me walk you through the options this time. I'm going to extend the right leg straight. Your first option would be to bend this left leg and bring it over to the left, supporting your hip on a block or towel, whatever works for you. And this will have the effect of working the opposite side of that inner thigh. You also have the option of keeping the legs straighter or maybe even bent and coming out further. I'm not the most flexible individual. Ironic, I know, teaching yoga and not being super flexible. But if you can keep this leg straight, you might move your block all the way to the left, further out, so that the outside of your foot rests on it. So play with it, see what's going to work for you today. And in this case, we're going to try and keep the sacrum flat on the floor. So you're really going to be working that inner hip joint. We'll inhale together, shoulders flat on the floor. And on the exhale, holding your strap, bring that left leg to the left. And find what works for your body today. I think I'm a little different every time I do this. And we'll stay here, breathing deeply for 6 breaths. You can always stack up pillows instead if you need more space, or I have a bolster that I tend to use, but I know a lot of people won't have a bolster at home. Sorry if you hear my dog sneezing in the background. All right, one more inhale. On the exhale, use your strap to help guide that left leg back up. Release your strap and extend both legs out in a quick shavasana, giving the body a little time to adjust. Now I have very little space to work with, so I'm going to flip around, but you can most likely stay where you are. It just depends on your space and your nearest wall. Okay, we'll cross over the left leg next. So you should be flat on the floor. The block will be on your right side, and I invite you to bring the strap around that left foot. And again, as you're coming across, I'm gonna lose my strap. As you're coming across the body, the hip will rotate. Ideally, your hips should be stacked. And you can move your block where you need it so you have a nice, comfortable stretch. So let's come into this together. The leg is up. We're going to inhale nice, deep breaths. And exhale, rotate just the lower body, making sure that left foot is supported on your block. And you don't want to go all the way to the floor because you can hurt yourself by twisting too far. So in this posture, I strongly recommend some sort of support. And continue to breathe, relaxing the muscles of the hip. Make sure your air's coming into the belly, expanding it, which will help the hip and move the air all the way down to the pelvic floor muscles. It's a really good stretch. Let's take one more inhale together. Exhale, use the strap to help you as you release the leg back up. Remove your strap and stretch both legs out, maybe at a diagonal like I am if you don't have much space, but we're okay. One more breath here. Exhale nice and long. And now this time we'll put the strap on the right foot. I find it helps to put both feet on the ground in order to reach the foot for the strap on the right. Then extend that left leg. And again, the knee can be bent. Your block or a stack of towels or blankets, whatever, can be close to the hip or away. Just find what's going to work for your body and your situation. And let's get into this together since we know where we're going. Inhale nice and deep. Exhale, just the lower legs. Excuse me, just the lower leg. Lower leg. Inhale. And drop that right leg down toward your block. Make sure the body feels supported. Sacrum is still flat on the floor. And you're taking nice deep breaths, which is really going to help push air to the pelvic floor and stretch the muscle by that right hip joint. If you're clenching your butt cheeks, try really hard to focus on relaxing. And we're here for one more deep inhale. On the exhale, use the strap to help guide that right leg back upright. Release your strap. Set it aside. And we'll stretch out in Shavasana. Legs are extended. Really focus on relaxing the hips. Let the legs fall apart, falling open. You probably can't see my feet. I promise they're still there. Okay. And our last posture before we do our final relaxation today will be reclined cobbler's pose. And there are a lot of different thoughts on how to do this for relaxing. But I'm going to show you what I do pretty routinely. And I invite you to bring both feet to the floor and grab your yoga blocks and set them on either side of you. Now, a lot of people, if they're going to hold this position for several minutes, will have a bolster or a stack of pillows to raise the body and help tilt the pelvis downward. But I find what works best for me for stretching is to keep the sacrum flat on the floor and just let those legs splay out. This posture you can stay in for a while if you're supported with the legs and it feels good to you. So let me walk you through this the first time and then we'll get into it together. So the legs will be zipped up together. We will inhale and exhale, keeping the sacrum flat on the floor. You will gently lower both legs down to your blocks, adjusting wherever you need them. I have days when I'm all the way on top of the blocks, the long way, whatever works for how you feel today. And then the bottoms of the feet should be pressed together. And we'll hold it. So let's come into this together. We'll inhale with the legs nice and close. On the exhale, support the pelvic floor. Keep your sacrum flat as the legs splay open. Adjust the blocks as you need to find what's comfortable. No pain here. Hands can be either at the hip joints, at the belly, or on the floor. And I want you to focus for 8 breaths this time, really working to expand the belly and press air all the way down to the pelvic floor. Really focus on letting the blocks support you. And relax all the muscles around the legs. One more inhale together. And on the exhale, use your hands to help guide the legs back up and extend them out nice and flat. I invite you to raise the chest in order to tuck the shoulder blades behind you. As you rest the arms at your sides, palms up, and relax the body. We carry a lot of tension in our day without even realizing it sometimes. So take these last few minutes to breathe. And on every exhale, try and relax a different part of your body. And we'll stay here in silence just for a few minutes, breathing. We'll take one more deep inhale. And long exhale. And I invite you to bring awareness to the body by wiggling the fingers and wiggling your toes. Create a little movement with the arms and the legs. And then gently roll yourself onto your side. And we'll stay here for a moment in the fetal position. And when you're ready, I invite you to use your hands to help you push yourself up into a seated position. I hope you enjoyed class today. I hope your hip joints feel really good, really yummy, and that your pelvic floor feels stretched and less painful or more control if you're suffering incontinence issues. Join me again. I love having you, and I hope to see you tomorrow and as often as possible. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you next time. Bye.